Hey everyone, today we're checking out a rear display for the Tesla Model 3. So this is the rear display for the Tesla Model 3 and Y by Hansshow. And full disclosure, they sent me this unit to review. So if it wasn't immediately obvious, this screen replaces this unit here, and the screen obviously goes here. Now it gives the rear passenger the option of controlling the air conditioning, and more importantly, I think, the heated seats, which is kind of a hassle to get to because they're all in that front screen over there. But this will give the option for the passenger behind to control their own heated seats. It also gives the option of controlling the passenger seat. So if the rear passenger wants more legroom, they could potentially move this seat forward and give themselves some more legroom. But before we get any further into this video, let's address the elephant in the room. That air vent down here, obviously you see here, the screen takes up the majority of the face of this rear plate now. The vent is kind of forced to be this little slot at the bottom. The louvers are no longer adjustable, so they're fixed. It does look like it comes out in like a fan kind of direction, so the air should go through to all passengers at the back there. Obviously, the airflow will be restricted. I don't know exactly how much it will be restricted. I don't have any way of measuring the airflow. All right, the screen has been installed. If you want to see how I installed it, watch to the end. At the very end of the video, I have a pro tip as well. So when the screen boots up, you get greeted with this special Tesla launcher, which they have created. And the first screen you see is actually the air conditioning controls. And you can tap this blue button in the middle here. This blue button means that the air conditioning, the rear air conditioning is turned on. If you press it, it will turn off. If you tap it again, it will turn back on. So apart from turning on and off the rear air vent here, you can also control the fan speed. So this slider at the top here lets you change the fan speed to low or high by just dragging it. Now if you do that, there's no way to reset it back to auto. You have to do it from the main screen at the front. So keep that in mind if you do touch this. So if I reduce the air there, it changes the animation. But if I max the fan, hopefully you can hear that, but it is set the fan to maximum at the moment. You can turn it back lower, but there's no way to reset it back to auto. The next option you have are these red bacons. This is the rear heating control, the rear seat heating control. So now you can toggle the heated seats for each seat at the back here. Now, I think the coolest thing about this rear control is you can actually control the front seat as well. So if you see here, it says click chair control. If you tap this chair, these arrows come up and then you can start moving this front seat backwards and forwards. Pretty damn cool. So the next icon across is this grid icon here. So if you tap on it, you'll see it's actually a full-on launcher here. So underneath here, it's actually a full-on Android tablet. So you have access to the Play Store, your Chrome browser, you have your favorite video platform YouTube here, and your favorite channel Wonk. If we go home and then go back to that grid launcher again, you see there's other apps like Spotify. We also have Netflix. If there's some other app you like, that's fine. Just go to the Play Store, search for the app you want, and you can install it straight from here. So after the app launcher, there is this music button. So this allows you to control the music that is playing in the car at the moment. So if, for example, you are playing Spotify from the main display up there, you can use this to go backwards or forwards and also play, start and stop the music, which is convenient for the rear passenger. So maybe the driver is occupied and then you want to skip the track, you can do it from here as well. The icon next to that, this lock icon, locks the screen. So remember, this is a full-on Android tablet, so you can show this lock screen if you like. It does show the Hansshow logo at the top there, and there are two lock screens you can choose from. You can swipe left and right to switch between a analog clock or a digital clock like that. You can swipe up to unlock, and you're back to where you were. And finally, the last icon here on the dock at the bottom is this rectangle with a power button in it. If you tap it, it just turns the screen off. So if you don't want the screen on, maybe you're taking a nap or something, or you just want to turn it off, You can tap that and the whole screen just turns off. Tapping anywhere now will turn the screen back on, just like that. So on either side of this dock, the last icon on the right is a speaker icon. You can use this to change the car's speaker volume directly from here. So tapping on the right will increase the volume, tapping on the left will reduce the volume. On the left side of this dock, you have a temperature control here. So right now the car is set to 21 degrees Celsius because I'm in Australia, I'm using Celsius. You can adjust it directly from here. So if I reduce the temperature here by pressing the left arrow, the number starts dropping. Hopefully you can see that. And then hopefully you can hear the fan is kicking up now. So I've reduced the temperature to the lowest possible setting and the fan is just going crazy right now. So let's set it back to a more reasonable 21 degrees. And then the fan drops back down to a more reasonable speed. Since we're talking about the air conditioning controls, there was a little quirk that I discovered. So right now it's set to 21 degrees Celsius. If I say reduce it to, let's say 19 degrees, we heard before that the air conditioning actually responds and it actually is changing the temperature to 19 degrees and the fan ramps up and so on. But if we look over here, the front screen, it still says 21 degrees. So for whatever reason, changing it here doesn't actually reflect on the screen at the front, but the temperature actually does change and the air conditioning does respond when you change this temperature here. So I asked Hansshow about it. I think it's a limitation of the system. So the front display simply just doesn't refresh when this changes here, even though the system knows that you have chosen a lower temperature. So because this is connected to the ODB port, when you close all the doors, the screen turns off automatically. And then when the door opens again, the screen turns back on. So let's talk audio for a second. So this is a full-on Android tablet. We have things like, YouTube, we have Spotify, we have Netflix, but obviously there are no speakers in this rear housing here. So how do you get the audio to come out of the speakers in the car? So there's actually two Bluetooth kind of settings that you have to connect depending on what functionality you want. So let me elaborate. So if you want audio from this tablet to come out of the speakers in your car, what you need to do is you need to go to the Android settings. You need to scroll down to the Bluetooth section and you have to connect your tablet back here with the audio system, the actual in-car audio system at the front of the screen, on the main screen. Once that is connected, it will be treated as a kind of Bluetooth source or a Bluetooth phone audio. So if you've ever connected your phone via Bluetooth to the car, same thing, but doesn't do calls. So if you switch the input to Bluetooth at the front screen there, you'll be able to then hear all the audio that's coming out of this tablet at the back. So as I mentioned before, there are two ways of using Bluetooth. The second way involves setting this up to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. So if that's something you want to do, then this is how you get that connected. So you have to go to the app drawer here, go to the Bluetooth icon or the phone icon that's called Bluetooth, tap on that, and now this particular device is called TSL E425. If you go to your phone and then try to pair a new device, you'll see down here there is the TSL device here. So tap on that and then it should pair in a moment. So yes, pair, and it's connecting, and now it is connected. So as soon as it's connected, this Z-Link app opens, and this is basically the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay app, which gets it all working. So if you press this blue button down here, it should start the Android Auto. So now you have full-on Android Auto here. You can control your music, you can look at the map, you can navigate from here. It's got the weather. You can also make phone calls and other things straight from this screen. I don't know how useful this is because as a passenger, you can probably just use this tablet directly to play Spotify, to play Netflix and so on. The driver probably doesn't want to connect their phone to this to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto because if you navigate from here, you can't see it on the main screen. You can hear it because we just connected it to the speakers, but yeah, you won't be able to see it. But still pretty cool. And if it wasn't obvious, it is completely wireless. So it is wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, which is excellent. And the other cool thing about this rear screen is it replaces the two USB-A ports with two USB-C ports that I hope you can see on camera. Now, it's good, but it's also bad. I come from a 2019 Model 3, so I had two USB-A ports back here, and the charging speeds were okay, but they're not like rapid charging speeds. But with this replacement screen, the left one, the left USB-C port does rapid charging, and the right USB-C port doesn't do any charging at all. So it's like a data port. So if you want to plug in a controller to play games, you can do that through the right port here, but no charging. So is this rear screen worth getting? Well, it is expensive. There is no, two ways about it. If you do want to buy it, there is a 15% off code that's in the description below, provided to us by Hansshow. So thank you, Hansshow, for that. It does give the rear passengers some flexibility in how they use the aircon. If they really want it off, they can just tap it here. I think the biggest advantage is the rear seat warmers or the rear seat heaters. The rear passenger has full control over them, and also you have the cool added bonus of being able to control the front seat there as well. And then you have the full-blown benefit of this being a full-on Android tablet. So your rear passengers will be able to watch YouTube, they can play games, they can install whatever apps they like straight from the Play Store. But ultimately, this accessory is for your rear passengers. So it depends on how much money you want to spend just for your rear passengers to entertain them, to allow them some more creature comforts. If you have small kids, maybe this would be great. Maybe they can entertain themselves by watching some YouTube or some Netflix. But as the driver of the vehicle, it's probably less useful for you. It's more of a wow or a cool factor. So when your passengers get in the car, they'll be amazed by this nice looking rear screen at the back here. So I think that's it for the main part of this video. Thanks again to Hansshow for sending us this unit so that we can do such an in-depth review of it. If you want to know how to install it, keep watching. At the very end, we have a pro tip for this screen. So stay for that, or just jump to the end and watch that. So yeah, let's get to installing this thing. So the first installation step is to remove this rear vent. It's actually very easy to remove. You just have to grab it from both sides and just pull outwards and the whole thing will pop off. And that's it, it's already coming off. Top comes off, bottom comes off. So underneath this rear vent, there is a cable or a wiring harness which connects down at the bottom here. This is for the USB ports on the back plate here. You will need to disconnect this cable. So disconnecting this is pretty easy. There's a clip which is in the middle of this plug here. Just press that down and pull outwards, and you can see it's slowly coming out. And that's it, disconnected. So once you've unplugged it, just keep it aside for now. So the next piece is underneath the vent itself, which is down here. So this piece there, I believe we need a prise tool to pull it out. Okay, so you actually want to start from the top. It's a lot easier to start from the top, from up here. And once you're in, you can get a finger in there and then just pull out and the whole thing just pops off. Okay, and there it is, the cover is off. So just for reference, so you guys know, this is the back of the cover, this is the top edge, this is the left and the right. The top has a clip, so that's by going from the top is easier. Once you pull the top clip out, the side ones come out easier, and also you have more grip on the top. Next, we're disconnecting the OBD port, which is this blue plug here. It should be fairly easy to pull out, but there's a clip here. You push this down and then you should be able to pull it that way. Okay, there it is. I think I did block the camera there, but there's a plastic clip. You push here and then apply force that way. With the OBD port disconnected, we grab the wiring harness which was included in the package, and we basically plug this end into the OBD port. It's kind of like a pass-through, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so we're back down here, OBD port. This is the wiring harness. One end goes to here. There we go. And the other end goes in here. And that's it. So it is connected now. Now we need to figure out a way to hide this cable. So there is some space down here. You should be able to shove the plug down here, and that should give you enough space to close this cover. Taking a look at the rest of this wiring harness. So this is the part that comes out of that OBD port there. This should be the power to your rear screen, and this longer cable which comes off the end of it, this is the control for the front passenger seat. So I believe this needs to be routed to the seat, onto the side, and then plugging into the controls of the front passenger seat. Okay, so I'm going to start by routing that power cable for the rear screen up here through to there so I can connect it to the screen. So there's no real trick to it, but I discovered that on this side seems to be the easiest option. You kind of just start shoving it up behind the plastic, and there is only one way up. So if you keep pushing it, it will eventually make its way up to the top here, and you'll start to see the plug showing up. So I'll try and get it. I don't think I can get it on camera, but there is a green thing in there somewhere, and that's the start or the head of that plug. So I'm going to keep pushing it up and eventually be able to grab it from here. Okay, I think I've got it. All right, there it is. So you kind of just have to slowly feed it up, and then eventually you'll be able to get it up to the vent area here. Just for clarification here, I have more cables here than you would normally have. In a stock car, you would basically just have this cable, which is for the USB-C ports, and this green one here is the one I just threaded up. These additional cables are there because I have an ambient light kit. You won't have these additional cables here. So now with everything in place, we can pop the screen on. But before we do that, let's plug in the power to make sure that this thing turns on. Okay, it's plugged in now. The car is currently asleep, so I'm going to go wake the car. Go, the car is awake now. Oh, the screen is alive. Hansshow. There we go, it's booted. Okay, so if you do want the seat control, you have to thread the cable just underneath the seat to somewhere where you can access it here. I am in a right-hand drive model, so the seat that I'm controlling is the passenger seat, which is on the left side. Now on this edge, if you just pull the plastic back, you'll see there's a box in there. So that's the seat control box. And then just next to that is a cable. So that's the cable there, the colored cable there. We have to unplug that colored cable and basically plug the end inside the seat into this connector here, and then plug this back into that box, and then basically this will pass through the signal to the screen, allowing us to control this seat. So removing this by hand was actually very difficult. So what you do is you use a screwdriver and just push it a little bit this way, and that gives you enough leverage to dislodge it enough for you to just grab it with your fingers and pull it the rest of the way out. Okay, so now the little cable, we're going to plug it into the pass-through cable. Make sure it all lines up. And then we're going to plug this end into the seat box or the control box. Okay, that's all plugged in now. I have the other end plugged back into the box. And I think the best way to hide the cable is actually just around the cushion of the seat, like so. And then just push it back in, and you can barely see it. So that's it. That's basically all the installation steps. Everything just pops right off and pops back in. No real tools required. And the fit looks just like it's from factory. So as we saw in the main part of the video, there is that lock screen. If you lock it, then you get this wallpaper here, and you have the Hansshow logo up here. Also, if you close all the doors, the screen turns off, which is excellent, but when the tablet boots or when it turns the screen back on, you get greeted with a Hansshow Smart Your Vehicle logo here as well. So understandably, some people may want to customize this. Maybe you don't want to see the Hansshow logo every single time, or maybe you want to put your own logo there. I mean, if you bought this device, you should be able to do that. But this wouldn't be a wonk video if we don't get technical. So Hansshow provide a way to update the firmware on this tablet here. You can download it off their main page for this product, and then you can put it into a USB thumb drive. I've got it in an SD card here, but basically you just plug it in to the USB port down here, and then it should scan the disk and then say, oh, there's a new version, do you want to install it? So press confirm, and then after several minutes, it will basically reflash this tablet. Now, it doesn't apply over the existing one, it actually flashes the whole thing. So if you have customized the tablet, you have signed in and stuff, be prepared, this thing will be factory reset and you got to do it all again. So using that update feature, I have customized the boot logo and also the lock screen for this tablet here. So if we go to the lock screen, you'll see that it's just a black screen now. So before it was that Hansshow background with the logo at the top left corner there, now it's just black. Now if I close the door, the screen goes off, and if I open the door, the boot logo is a nice looking Tesla logo. Fits the OEM look very well. So let's dive into it. And how do we customize this ROM? First thing we're going to do is head to Hanshow's webpage and look for the product page for the rear display. We scroll down and we look for the upgrade file, which is here. You click there, you download it. Once you've downloaded it, put it somewhere that you know where it is so you can work with it. So I've downloaded this before and I've put it into an update folder on my desktop. It's a UPD file. Now this may look intimidating at first, but it's just a zip file. So let's just quickly unzip it and take a look at what's inside so that we know what to do next. So inside the unzipped directory, we see there is an Android logo and there's a boot logo. So they look like they're the same logo to me. The boot logo is just rotated 90 degrees. I think this Android logo is what shows up when the screen turns on and off when you close the door. I think the boot logo shows up when the whole tablet reboots, but they look the same, so you probably can't tell which one is which when you're actually using the tablet. So we found these two images that we want to replace, and there's one more image that we want to replace as well, which is the lock screen background. So if we snoop around a bit, we can see in system, etc DZT, there is a lock_BG, and this is the lock screen wallpaper that we saw on the tablet. So we want to replace this as well. So how do we do that? So if we go back up a level here, what you want to do is you actually don't want to unzip this. If you unzip the file and then you modify the pictures and then you zip back up again, the tablet won't accept that file. It won't actually apply the update. So what you need to do is you need to modify those pictures or replace those pictures without unzipping this file. On Windows, it's fairly easy. Just open WinRAR or something, and then you can browse this UPD file and then replace the pictures to whatever you want. But on a Mac, you don't have WinRAR, so we're going to do it the hard way. Before we jump into that, just make sure you have the images that you want to replace those logos with. So for me, I just have a Tesla logo or a gray Tesla logo on a black background that I want to replace the Android logo and the boot logo with. And for the lock screen wallpaper, I just have a pure black image here. So those are the pictures I'm going to use to replace the existing pictures. So to update this file or to modify this file without unzipping it on a Mac, we're going to pull up a terminal. So I have already, changed directly or CD'd into the directory that I was working with, the update directory. So you see here we have the Android logo, the boot logo, the system folder. There's a reason why it's in a system folder, which I'll go through in a second. But this is the file we want to update, and we're just going to use the zip tool to replace it. Before we do that, we're going to use zip info to just show us some information about this file and to make sure that we have successfully changed these logos. So just keep an eye on this here, Android logo. You see there is a file size here. It's quite large. Now we're going to replace that file with our custom Android logo that we have in that folder. So firstly, we're going to point it to the file, which is UPD here, and then we're going to say, hey, we're going to modify the Android logo in that file with the one that is in the current directory. So let's see how that goes. So there we go, it's done it. So let's just see if it did it. So again, we told it to spit out some information about that file, that zip file, that UPD file, and you can see here, this Android logo is now much smaller because it's just mostly a black background. So we do the same thing for the boot logo. So let's do that. We're gonna go and change this to boot logo. And it's going to go ahead and do that. And again, let's double check here, the zip info, and then we see that the boot logo has also changed in size, so we know that it's successfully gone in and replaced that. Now, for the wallpaper, for the lock screen wallpaper, it was in system etc DZT. So again, here's the file size, it's quite large. Now, the reason why I had to put it in that system folder is because the system path, or the path to that image, needs to match the path in the zip file. So we just you just make some, folder structure which is similar to the one, or not similar, exactly the same as the one that's in the zip, and then we'll be able to replace exactly that file. So DZT here, and then this was lock_bg. So yep, so this system path, or this file path, mimics the path inside that UPD file, and then just hit enter, and then it'll go in there and replace the correct file. So again, let's just double check the zip info, and we'll scroll up a bit, and then we'll see system/DZT lock_bng, and see that the file size is much smaller because it's just a black background. So that's it. Now that you have replaced those files inside this UPD file here, just copy that to a thumb drive, plug it into your rear display, and it will just apply the update, and then you'll have your lovely custom images. That's all.